Hey Camp followers, you're still with us. This is episode 4 and we are now working along our pyramid structure. So if you look at the diagram, hopefully above, you're going to see that we're on the next square to the left. We've done identification. We're now talking about getting the correct diagnosis. Why is this important? It's so important. This is a long-term disease that's going to require management. And that's in management that affects you financially and emotionally. It's long term, so let's make sure that we're treating the right disease. So we were just having a little chat, weren't we, about things that we've seen in our careers. And there's a real tendency to lump anything to do with slowing down, just getting old, just getting stiff, having difficulty getting up. It must be arthritis. But it doesn't have to be, does it?
No, I've seen some cases recently that have been referred to my pain clinic, to my chronic pain clinic. So the primary vet has decided that this dog has a problem and has sent it to me, and we've actually then gone and diagnosed a septic joint.
Yeah.
So yes, that is related to arthritis, but a septic joint needs very specific, intensive treatment. I've had dogs which have come in and have turned out to have bone cancer, which really hope that that's not ever the situation with your dog, but we need to know that we need to know what we're treating. So even if the prognosis is really bad, if we just keep treating it like it's arthritis, it's a very painful condition, and we are, compromising your dog's welfare by trying to treat it as what's considered to be a fairly ordinary, common condition.
Yeah. In my career, I have had dogs presented that were slowing down and they've been assumed to be arthritic, and I've had kidney disease, liver disease, splenic tumours, hypothyroidism, libramine toxicity. I've had loads of dogs that have come slowing down or a bit wobbly, or there's changes, but it hasn't been arthritis, or it hasn't been the major concern.
Do you know the other thing?
What's that?
Getting a bit fat.
Oh, yeah.
So if your dog's got arthritis, but he's also really, really overweight, you get this gradual slowing down.
Yeah. If
you get weight off the dog, so it's back to a lean body condition, all of a sudden they've got lots of energy, even though the arthritis is still there. So that's just an extra one.
We're going to do weight, so wait for episode, don't know yet, but we're going to be doing weight too. But so the important thing here for you to understand is spot diagnosing without physically examining, without doing the further investigations that are needed to be sure that it is arthritis.
Blood tests, X-rays,
exactly.
Potentially.
And talking about your bone cancer and not trying to do fear stories, we're trying to be helpful. I diagnosed a dog as I believed had shoulder arthritis, but when the imaging was done, the bone tumour was right up by the joint. So the pain, I was right where the pain was. It was within the shoulder area, but it wasn't arthritis, it was bone cancer. So when your vet says to you, I believe from your history and your observations that we're dealing with potentially chronic pain, I've done a full clinical examination and I have localised the pain to being here, here and here, I now need to do further investigations to clarify what I'm dealing with. They're totally right that we need to get answers, because we're potentially going to be putting your dog on a long-term medication or treatment plan for life. So we need to know that what we're treating is right.
And if we're talking about blood tests, for example, if your dog needs to go on a long-term medication, it's important for your dog to know that, your vet to know that your dog is healthy. Yeah. And also he can then monitor, he or she can monitor any changes. Yeah. If you know from the start and what the blood test shows. So it's difficult because obviously it costs more money. Yeah. But it's really, really important part of treatment.
And this is something that crops up whenever I lecture vets. The same thing crops up from the veterinary perspective of how do we persuade owners that this is important? How can we get them to take that extra step with us? Because when you're in the room and you've got your standby face on, which is that one, that's quite hard for a vet to work with. They're trying to work with you and they can see that behind those eyes there's all things going off in your head of this, that and the other, and this is going to cost, and what's it going to do to the dog, and they're going to have anesthetic, blah, blah, blah. We're trying to get you an answer. We need to get you an answer so we can treat your case, your unique case, to the best of our ability. So, what we're doing in this episode is talking about how to get a diagnosis. What that would mean in a first opinion practice is you've gone in, you've taken your observations, you've taken your history. The vet listens to your history. They clinically examine your dog, hopefully on the floor. They are touching and feeling and moving joints, and they're localizing to where that pain is coming from. And that might be more than one place, but we're going to come back to that in another episode. From there, they will say to you, the pain is localized to this region. It could be this, this, and this. I would encourage us to do x-rays. CT scanning, MRI is possible, but first opinion practice is generally x-rays for me to clarify what I am dealing with so that I can best treat this case.
On the other hand, I would say also x-rays are valuable, and I think you really need x-rays, but there's a really poor correlation between the state of pain, the amount of pain the dog is experiencing, and actually what the x-ray looks like. So sometimes you can get a really painful joint. A hip would be a classic one.
Yeah.
You x-ray it and it's sort of early hip dysplasia, not much arthritic change going on. So, and other times the dog's relatively not that painful, or you happen to find an incidental horrendous looking joint on x-ray when you've x-rayed for something else. So there's a poor correlation between the amount of pain and the amount of arthritis on an x-ray. However, we need to x-ray to see what stage of disease we're looking at and to rule out other things.
Yeah.
Even fractures. I've had cases where animals have come in elbow lame, for example, and they've got a fracture, which actually needs surgical treatment in order to get the best outcome.
I've had animals come in and they've obviously been hit by a car at some point in their life and they've got a fractured pelvis that's healed badly. And that's the cause of their gait change, not actually arthritic hips. So today's episode is really there to try and give you confidence that your vet isn't trying to have you over. They haven't got some dark mystic plan. They are trying to get as much information together as possible to treat your dog appropriately. I have on a number of occasions had lovely specialists step forward and say, hey, Cam, please can you do more episodes about misdiagnosis? Because there are many dogs that are being treated, be it with supplements, with anti-inflammatories, for a disease that they don't have. So we need to make much more effort at getting an appropriate diagnosis. We will see you for episode 5 about managing expectations. And this is really important. Please don't gloss over this one, because this is potentially going to bring all the pieces of the jigsaw for you together, because this is a long-term disease. So we'll see you then.